After paying off their $40,000 debt and letting them stay in our home rent-free, my son-in-law told me, "Your opinions don't matter in this house anymore." He slammed the door in my face while I was holding groceries for their kids. My daughter watched and said, "You're just being sensitive." I sat in my car, hands shaking, wondering how we became strangers to our own child. 3 weeks later, we did something they never saw coming. My name is Diane. I'm 63 years old, retired, and I live with my husband Rick just outside Grand Rapids, Michigan. We've been in the same house for over 30 years. It's not huge. It's old. But it's ours. Paid off. Filled with memories. We raised our daughter here. Her name is Dana. Dana used to be kind. She used to respect us. When she was a teenager, she'd leave little notes on my pillow saying thank you for doing her laundry or packing her lunch. I kept them all in a shoebox. I never thought I'd see the day where she looked right through me like a stranger. She married a guy named Kyle when she was 25. He was always a little too confident for my taste. Thought he was smarter than everyone. Always had to have the last word. But Dana said she loved him. So, we smiled through it. We paid for their wedding. Backyard ceremony. Foldable chairs. String lights. Dana cried walking down the aisle. Rick gave a speech. We were proud. After that, they moved to Chicago. Kyle got a job in IT. Dana worked at a boutique interior design place. We'd talk once a week. Holidays, birthdays, video chats with the grandkids when they came. Then 2 years ago, things went south. I remember the exact moment. Dana called me at 9:42 at night, crying. She said Kyle lost his job. They were 3 months behind on the mortgage. Credit cards were maxed. The car needed repairs. She kept saying, "I don't know what to do, Mom. I don't know what to do." Rick and I talked it over. We told them to come home. We said, "You can stay here. We'll help. It'll just be temporary." They moved in a week later. Dana, Kyle, and our 2 granddaughters, Maisie, 6, and Lila, 3. We cleaned out the upstairs for them. Set up a playroom. Bought bunk beds for the girls. Rick fixed the leaking bathroom up there. I stocked the kitchen. Cooked every night. Did laundry. Took the girls to and from daycare when Dana picked up part-time shifts. And then, we paid off their debt. $40,000. Student loans. Credit cards. Back rent. We used our retirement savings. Rick and I are careful people. We'd been saving for a long time. But we told ourselves, this is what family does. We wanted them to start fresh. We didn't want our grandkids growing up in stress. For a while, things were okay. Kyle got another job. Remote. Good money. Dana went full-time again. But they never offered to help with rent. Not once. No help with groceries either. What started as gratitude slowly turned into entitlement. Kyle started acting like this house belonged to him. He'd walk around in his boxers at 1 p.m., blast music while I was trying to read. Leave his dishes in the sink. I'd mention it politely and he'd brush me off. One time I said, "Kyle, please don't leave raw chicken out on the counter like that." He looked me dead in the eyes and said, "It's fine. Don't worry about it. This isn't your kitchen anymore." Another time I said, "Can you please rinse the tub after the kids take a bath? It's getting moldy." He laughed and said, "You should have renovated it years ago if mold's an issue." Dana? She just stayed quiet. I could tell she heard these things. She just wouldn't say anything. It was like she was scared of rocking the boat. Or worse, she agreed with him. 3 weeks ago was the worst. I went to Meijer and spent $168 on groceries. Most of it was for the girls. Juice boxes. Diapers. Applesauce. Lunch stuff. I carried 2 heavy bags up the steps. I knocked with my elbow because my hands were full. Kyle opened the door. He looked at me for 2 seconds and said, "You really should knock before coming upstairs." Then he slammed the door. Right in my face. I stood there in shock. The bags fell. One of the milk jugs cracked open. Eggs broke. I just stared at the mess. I could feel my heart pounding in my ears. My chest tightened. I wanted to scream. Dana came to the door. She saw me kneeling down, trying to pick up broken eggs and cracked yogurt cups. She said, "Are you crying?" I didn't answer. She rolled her eyes and said, "Mom, you're being way too sensitive. Kyle didn't mean it. You're making a big deal." Then she walked back inside. I sat on the front step for 10 minutes before I could even move. When I finally got to the car, Rick was sitting there waiting. He had seen everything from the driveway. His jaw was clenched so tight I thought his teeth might crack. He didn't say anything for a long time. Then he said one thing: "They think we owe them. They think we're weak." That night, we didn't sleep. The next day, we made a plan. We were done being doormats. We were done letting them treat our home like it was a hotel. We were done being invisible in our own house. They had no idea what was coming next. And we made sure of that. The day after Kyle slammed the door in my face, Rick took the morning off from his handyman jobs and sat down with me at the kitchen table. We didn't speak much. We didn't need to. We both knew we'd been too generous. Too patient. And it was time to fix that. Rick pulled out a notepad and started writing. He made a list. A very clear list. 1. Change the locks. 2. Talk to a lawyer. 3. Pull financial records. 4. Separate utilities. 5. Give a deadline. It felt cold, sure. But it also felt like finally getting control back. That same day, Rick went to the hardware store and bought a new lock set for the front and side doors. We waited until Kyle took the girls to the park and Dana was out with a friend. Then we changed every lock on the house, quietly, quickly. I boxed up their spare keys. Taped them in a plastic bag. Labeled it, "Return when lease is signed." That same night, we didn't say a word to them. Let them walk in as usual. Let them enjoy the dinner I cooked, spaghetti and garlic bread. Let them put their kids to sleep. But the next morning, they were locked out. Rick left for work before sunrise. I stayed inside with the doors locked and watched through the kitchen window as Kyle rattled the knob at 7:18 a.m. He knocked. Then he banged. Then he yelled, "What the hell?" I opened the door 2 inches. Just enough to speak. I said, "We changed the locks. From now on, you'll need permission to enter this home." Kyle stared like I had slapped him. "You can't do that," he snapped. "This is our house too. We live here." I said, "No. You stay here." Big difference. You're not on the deed. You're not on the bills. You've paid nothing. You slam a door in my face, you lose your privileges. Dana walked up behind him with the girls in tow, holding a bag of muffins from the store. She looked at me and said, "Is this a joke?" I looked at my daughter, and for a second I wanted to cry. Not because I felt bad, but because I finally realized she had changed. Or maybe she was always like this, and I just didn't want to see it. "No joke," I said. "You've got 30 days to find your own place. After that, you're out." Kyle tried to push the door open. Rick had installed a chain lock too. It clanged against the wood and held. "Open the F******ing door," Kyle growled. I closed it. Locked it again. Sat on the couch while they stood outside. They called the cops. No, really. Kyle actually called the sheriff's department and claimed we were illegally evicting them. 2 deputies showed up that afternoon. One of them, Officer Brennan, was an older man who knew Rick from town. We explained the situation: no rental agreement, no lease, no money ever exchanged. Officer Brennan said calmly, "They're not tenants. You have every right to ask them to leave." He turned to Kyle and said, "They've given you 30 days. That's more than fair." Kyle started yelling about the debt we paid. Dana pulled out her phone and started recording me. That's when I pulled out our file. Printed bank statements. A notarized letter Rick and I wrote about the loan. Screenshots of the $40,000 transfer to their bank. Every receipt from grocery runs, daycare pickups, even medical copays we covered for the kids. I looked at my daughter and said, "You don't get to use me anymore." That night, they stayed with a friend of Kyle's across town. The next day, Dana came back alone. She looked tired. Pale. Not like herself. She sat on the porch. I didn't let her in. She said, "I didn't mean for this to get so bad." I said, "But you let it." She didn't argue. She said, "We don't have the money to move yet." I said, "That's not my problem anymore." Then she said something I wasn't expecting. She said, "Kyle's been talking to another woman. Online. 4 months." I stared at her. She kept talking. "He calls her late at night." I found the messages. He says awful things about me. About the girls. I didn't want to believe it. But it's true. I didn't know what to say. She wiped her eyes and whispered, "I feel like my life is falling apart." I looked at her, the same girl I used to sing to in the bathtub, the same girl I drove to school dances and stayed up waiting for after curfew, and for a split second, I almost broke. But I didn't. I said, "Then maybe it's time to start over. On your own." She left without another word. But something told me, this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. For days passed without a word from either of them. The house was quiet again. Too quiet. No running feet on the stairs. No crying toddlers. No Kyle stomping around like he owned the place. Rick and I didn't say much. We kept to our routine. Ate dinner together. Watched the Weather Channel. Pretended things were normal. But then, on the 5th night, I got a call. It was from Dana's old friend, Monica. I hadn't spoken to her in over a year. She said, "Diane. I don't know how to say this, but I think you need to know what Kyle is doing." I felt a pit in my stomach. Monica sent me screenshots. Messages between Kyle and another woman. But not just flirty messages. He was sending photos of our house. The girls' room. The kitchen. Even our backyard. He wrote, "We'll be moving in here soon. Her parents are loaded. We'll make it ours eventually." I felt sick. The messages were time-stamped before we kicked them out. Kyle had been planning to take over our home. He told this woman, "They're old. They won't fight us. We'll wear them down." I showed Rick. He didn't say anything for a long time. Then he got up, went to the garage, and pulled out our old safe. The one with our deed, our will, and every legal paper we'd ever kept. He said, "We're calling the lawyer. First thing tomorrow." But it got worse. 2 days later, I went to check our mail and saw a strange envelope, no return address. Inside was a flyer for a rental listing. My house. My exact house. Photos from inside. Kyle had taken them without us knowing. He'd listed the upstairs, our upstairs, as a private, loft rental, with separate entry and private amenities, $1,200 per month. I nearly dropped it in the driveway. I checked the website. There it was. Posted publicly, with Kyle's contact number. He was trying to rent out our home. Behind our backs. I called the number listed. He answered. Hello? I said, are you out of your damn mind? He hung up. We called our lawyer, Mr. Gates, who we'd known for 15 years. He was shocked. He said, they can be charged with fraud if they take money from anyone. We drafted a cease and desist letter that same day. Had it delivered by certified mail and emailed. Then we filed a police report, just in case. But the next day, Kyle showed up again. This time, with someone. A woman. She was in her 20s. Blonde. Loud laugh. Holding a coffee like she owned the place. They pulled into the driveway, walked right up to the porch, and Kyle had the nerve to say, we're just showing the property real quick. Be out in 10. Rick stood up from his lawn chair. He said, you set 1 foot past that step, and I'll have you arrested. The girl looked confused. Kyle tried to act tough, but it was clear he hadn't told her anything. Rick walked over, handed her the cease and desist letter, and said, he doesn't own this place. He doesn't live here. He's been trespassing. This is your warning. She turned red, said, oh my God, and stormed back to the car. Kyle stood there, silent for once. Then he said something that made my blood freeze. This isn't over. Rick said, you're right. It's not. Because now it's legal. 2 hours later, we sent everything to the lawyer again. Now with a full report, witness name, and the rental listing archived. But that night, the real blow came. Dana called again. She was crying. This time not soft tears, full sobs. He emptied our account, she said. All of it. My savings, the girls' fund, everything. He took it and left. I don't know where he went. I think he used my name to open a new credit card. I'm ruined. She wasn't lying. The account was in her name, but Kyle had full access. He took every penny. Even left a note on their shared Google Calendar, you sided with them. Now figure it out on your own. She begged us to let her and the girls come back. Rick looked at me. I looked at him. We didn't answer her right away. I said, let me think. But inside, I already knew. This wasn't just about Kyle anymore. This was about what we were willing to tolerate. And what we weren't. And we were far from done. I didn't sleep that night. Rick and I sat at the table like we used to when Dana was a kid, when she had a fever or got into trouble at school. Except this time, the trouble wasn't a teenage mistake, it was a wrecked marriage, a stolen future, and a daughter we barely recognized anymore. Dana had called twice since we last spoke. I let both go to voicemail. She begged, apologized, cried. She said the girls missed me. She said she was scared. I believed her. But I couldn't forget what she'd let happen. I couldn't forget her standing behind Kyle when he said, your opinions don't matter in this house anymore. Rick said, if we let her come back now, what are we teaching her? He was right. But I also couldn't turn my back on my grandkids. They didn't ask for any of this. They were innocent. So, we came up with a final plan. A hard one. The next morning, I called Dana. I said, you can move in for 2 weeks. Just you and the girls. No Kyle. No visitors. No arguments. And during those 2 weeks, you are going to meet with a lawyer, a therapist, and a banker. And you're going to file for divorce. She went silent. I continued, we'll pay for it all. But if you go back to him after this, Dana, we're done. Forever. She whispered, okay. 2 hours later, she showed up with 2 duffel bags, the girls still in pajamas, clinging to her legs. Her eyes were puffy, her hair pulled back in a weak bun. She looked like a shadow of who she used to be. And maybe I was too. The first few days were quiet. Dana barely spoke. She stayed in the guest room with the girls. But she kept her promise. She met with the lawyer. She filed the divorce papers. We even sat with her while she canceled the joint bank account and froze her credit. Then came the twist none of us expected. A week later, the police called us. Apparently, Kyle had used Dana's stolen information to take out a personal loan, $15,000, and tried to use it as a down payment for a new apartment in Traverse City with the same young woman we saw on the porch. He even told the landlord that Dana had died. He provided fake documents. One of them had our address listed, but with Dana's name removed and his name added as primary homeowner. It all came crashing down when the bank flagged the loan application and called Dana to verify. She forwarded everything to her lawyer. The fraud charge was filed the next day. Police arrested Kyle at the apartment during a fake walkthrough set up by the landlord. Turns out the landlord had Googled Kyle's name and found the rental scam reports tied to our address. They got him cuffed, charged with fraud, identity theft, and attempted wire fraud. His new girlfriend left him the next day and even posted on Facebook that she was lied to and used. Dana showed me the post. She didn't smile, but I saw her eyes harden. He's now facing real jail time. Could be 3 to 5 years. His record isn't clean. He had a prior fraud charge from before he met Dana. She never knew. Dana cried that night, not because he was gone, but because she had ignored so many signs. She said, "I let him talk me into turning on you. I'm so ashamed." I told her, "That's the part one can't fix for you. But the rest, we'll work on it." In the following weeks, things changed. Dana got a job at a local dental office. She moved into a small 2-bedroom apartment 10 minutes away. The girls come over every Saturday. We take them to the park. Rick reads them books on the porch. Dana still has work to do. Trust doesn't snap back into place like a rubber band. Some days are good. Some are tense. But she shows up. And that's more than I thought she would. As for us, we've rewritten our will. The house will pass to the grandkids, not to Dana, and definitely not to any future husband she may have. We also filed a formal lien agreement to protect our savings in case she ever tries to pull another guilt trip for money. Rick and I also did something else. We took the broken eggs, the cracked milk jug, the old porch stain from that horrible day, and we repainted everything. New railing. New steps. New lock. Even new flowers. It's our home again. Fully. And the last thing? I mailed Kyle a copy of our grocery receipts. Every one I had saved over the past year. No note. Just a yellow sticky on top. Don't forget what real generosity looks like. You mistook it for weakness. He'll have years behind bars to think about that. As for me, I'm just sitting on my porch again, hot coffee in hand, watching my granddaughters chase fireflies. And when Dana says, "Thank you, Mom," now, she means it.